Fundisha?
How are you?
I'm great. You're always looking so stylish
Thank
all the
you.
time.
I'm trying to be like you.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm with it all day, every day. But you are not just someone who is now an employee of the participatory budgeting process, but you're also someone who really saw this whole movement shape up because you are right here pounding the pavement with so many folks. Before you get into your role there, tell us a bit about why this work was important to you for you to even apply for this position.
Yeah, I think, well, since I was a kid, like my mom, my family, a lot of my mentors, I really watched people I grew up around do this sort of work. And it wasn't work to them, it was just kind of second nature. It was a lot of community organizing, a lot of bringing people together, a lot of really trying to like give power to the people and allow them to kind of step into who they are and see like the greatness that they possess. And so when I saw this opportunity, for me, it was really an opportunity to do the work that I kind of already do, just on a larger scale. I get to really try to get people involved. I get to engage folks. I get to really bring information and resources to the people that are farthest away from it. And that's kind of like my biggest goal in this role, is making sure that folks that don't have access to this information, folks that don't really know how to navigate this system or these resources, don't know how to process it, that they're able to still participate and engage in whatever capacity that they have. I think community organizing, activism, whatever you want to call it, really looks different for everyone, and there's so many moving parts to it. And so coming into this role, like, I really want to let folks know, like, you can come in however you want and be a part of this. You know, everyone has the same, most people have the same end goal in mind. Mm-hmm. And it's really about like aligning those values, aligning those interests, and really just kind of helping people step into their leadership, helping people step into their advocacy, really hone in on their strengths, and support one another in areas where they don't feel so strong. And so that's some of the reason why I got into this work. I think a lot of the folks that I worked with in the past, and a lot of mentors, like, they were a part of kind of like creating the foundation for this process. You mentioned it earlier, like, a lot of the community really fought for this money and really, you know, put their lives on the line, literally. And to kind of be able to move this process forward in a way that like honors that and, you know, lets folks know like people still care, people still want to see this be successful. I guess it's just kind of also my way of doing that, and just letting people know like this is gonna happen. Yeah. And you know, we're gonna get this money back into the communities that need it most, the communities that are harmed most by these systems.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Fundisha. I got really excited understanding your background, particularly because I think one of the big concerns a lot of folks had was, you know, when we saw the contract get awarded to like a organization that's like outside of here, we were like, oh man, are they gonna, you know, bring in a bunch of outside folks to try to understand the nuances of our community and the issues that we're dealing with, and the fact that, you know, they were able to bring someone like you on who comes from that background of community organizing, you know, comes from, you know, being embedded in community and connecting in the ways that you have. I think that's so fundamental for how they approach this work. And so your work with the community engagement side of all of this, tell us how that's shaping up, because we also know that this is a process that involves heavy amounts of community engagement. Like, it's guided by community. Tell us how your role is really shaping up there with PB.
The main thing is, you know, there's a lot of folks that know about this process, and there's even more people that don't. And that's one thing I'm really realizing is like, oh, not too many people know this is happening. I'm sure when this money was awarded or divested, a lot of folks like knew that happened, but kind of maybe just didn't know how to follow up with it and see where this money was going. And so right now, the biggest thing is literally just reaching out to folks and telling them like, hey, this is going on, let's get together so I could tell you more. Or this is happening, how do you see yourself getting involved? How can we make sure the communities you're serving, you're supporting, how do we make sure they know about it? And really just kind of making sure that they know the participatory budgeting project, we are here just to support and facilitate. I don't have a say in how this process goes. I don't get to make decisions. This is really 100% community-informed, community-led, and it's really building that trust with folks, letting them know, like, I'm not gonna come later and say, nope, that can't happen. Really letting them know, hey, this is what it is. You get to be a part of it every step of the way. How do we make sure that you feel comfortable doing so? How do we make sure you're equipped with the resources and the information to make sure that you could do that? So my role has really been just kind of pure engagement, conversations, building relationships, kind of fostering the relationships I already have, asking folks to connect me with people I don't know. You know, I'm from Seattle, but everybody doesn't know me. I don't know everybody. And so this is also a great opportunity for people to know, like, I'm here, I've been doing the work on the ground in a lot of different ways, and I wanna make sure that y'all know about this. I wanna get y'all engaged in this also. And then our team, we have a great team, a Seattle team that's really coming together, and that have been doing this work in different circles, and I think that's really, that's something powerful. Like, I might be the one that's from here, and I might be the one that has seen changes in communities and organizing, but we have folks that are tapped into the art scene. We have folks that are tapped into younger communities. We have folks that are tapped into older communities. Like, it really, it's really all of us bringing our different networks together, our different interests, our different passions, and so also figuring out how to use that to really expand, like, our reach and our engagement. And so it's been, the team came together pretty fast, and the process is really starting to move. And so it's been a lot of, you know, internally building that trust, and then externally making sure folks know, like, we're solid here. We want y'all to be able to, like, lean on us, come at us, come with us, whatever it looks like. So yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Well, you know, it's going to require a lot. And,
Yeah.
you know, last time we had folks from PB Project here, they were talking about that intense level of engagement with young communities.
Yeah.
And so y'all were bringing young folks on to, like,
Yeah.
work internally with y'all and to really be an example of, like, how you're centering younger voices in the process as well.
Yeah.
So it's great to know that y'all are really taking a robust approach with this. And it's informed by, you know, someone like yourself who says, yeah, look, I may be here, but there's a lot of folks I don't know. How am I tapping in to those folks and making sure they're involved and engaged in the process? But also, so much of this is folks understanding, like, this is a big deal, not just for the city of Seattle, but nationally.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, you know, the Participatory Budgeting Project has worked with organizations and communities across the country.
Yeah.
And this is one of the bigger, right, funding sources
Yeah.
that is coming through
Biggest.
PB. It's the biggest
Yeah,
one, right? That's coming through PB. I mean, we're talking about 27 million, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's coming through to impact all of the things that folks have been saying we need. And we know it's a drop in the bucket, of course. You know, we have many folks that say that ain't gonna be enough to do anything, but let's figure out what we can do with
Yeah.
it. How do you approach that conversation with folks out in community that may have that skepticism? Because historically speaking, they have seen a lot of things try to do the right thing and not really hit the mark, Fundisha.
Yeah, you know, so this is the largest funding source that we've seen in the nation in terms of participatory budgeting. It's also, like, the first to kind of use, like, that divest invest model. And then Seattle, this isn't the first participatory budgeting process that has been done in Seattle. It's just the largest, and it's also kind of rooted in something that really impacted Black communities, Indigenous communities, and it really, like we said earlier, like, a lot of folks on the ground really put a lot at risk to make sure that this happens. And there's going to be people who don't have a lot of faith in the process, who don't really believe it's gonna bring change. I'll admit there's at times before this where it's kind of like, I don't know, is this really, like, how do we make sure it really gets to where it's supposed to go? But one thing about it is, if this process happens successfully, if we're able to really get through this process and engage community and make sure that this is getting to where folks need it to go, it's only gonna open up the doors for more opportunities to bring participatory budgeting into the city and other democratic processes that really will ensure communities' voices, their needs, their values are, like, centered, making sure that they're at the forefront of making these important decisions. And so it's really kind of engaging folks in that. Participatory budgeting project, this organization has also been successful in all of the PB processes that they've been a part of. And so that's one thing that we also kind of lean on, is letting folks know this isn't the first one done by this organization. This isn't the first process supported and facilitated. This is something that this organization is constantly working in and making sure that they're also evolving with each process, making sure that they're picking up new tools and making sure that they're each process is specific to each community. It's not a monolith. One doesn't look the same in every city. And so that's one thing that we try to really express to community. And then also like just creating that space for community to vent and air their grievances. We want to hear a lot of the I guess a lot of the questions people have, a lot of the doubt that they have, because that way we can go back collectively as a team, really figure out, okay, this is what we're hearing. How do we make sure that this process meets those concerns, or it meets those needs that people are voicing? And not to say we're gonna be perfect at it, but that's what this process is for, to let us know, hey, this isn't working, this is how we want it. And then as an organization, it's how can we make sure that we're meeting that need?
Yeah.
And so it's really a lot of trial and error, but a lot of just like, discussions and like really creating space. I think that's the biggest part, is not telling folks they're wrong for the concerns they have, not telling people that they shouldn't be worried or anything, but really hearing it and honoring it, and finding a way to, I guess, like support them in coming out of that concern, or finding ways to address that concern.
Well, I mean, listening is key, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what this process involves, is a heavy amount of listening. And I mean, that's what got us here. You know, finally the city was listening to thousands of voices that were in the streets, you know, saying the need for us to invest in our communities are key and huge, but also the benefits actually come back into the city.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about elevating and scaling up solutions that are already working on the grassroots level and have already impacted thousands of families, right? Throughout their history of, you know, consistent dedication.
Yeah.
So we're talking about disrupting a lot of different processes and actions that normally result in negative, you know, contributions to the city. So for it to be, you know, looked at as a benefit add to the city, I mean, any city could really be looking at what's going on here and realize like the need for, you know, these solutions to be scaled up is going to be key in addressing so much of this. But as we talk about, you know, so many voices who took to the streets, Fundisha, how does your role ensure that those voices are now a part of this process? Because they fought for it, and I think there's so many who had a lot of things to say about how to utilize this money. How do we ensure that those voices and those perspectives and lived experiences are really guiding the process now that it's underway?
I think the biggest thing, it goes back to really like hearing a lot of those people. I think a lot of the things that people have to say around, you know, feeling as it maybe they've been pushed out of this process, or maybe they don't feel like their voices are at the center of it like it should be. I think one, it's about calling them in. There is enough room for all of us to be a part of this process, and it's really also letting them know, like, we honor the work that you've done, and how can we as a team push this work forward? What wisdom can you share with us? What information, what resources, what connections, what networks? I think really pushing collaboration and partnership is huge. I think us also realizing like we're all in this to make sure that this process is successful. We want to make sure that this process or this funding gets put back into the communities that need it most, and calling them into that. You know, I have no issue letting folks know like, hey, I don't know this. I know what I know. What can you teach me? What can you tell me? What can you inform me? Or how do you want to step in and participate in this process now that it's moving forward? Letting people decide how they want to engage, sharing information. I think that was, you know, that's how we got here, was making that connection, and also hearing about, I'm interested to know what you did. I want to know how you participated and contributed to making this happen, because that way I can also move forward more informed. I can also share that with communities that are engaged now and just finding out about this process. And that way we're building another connection. Folks that are just now stepping into this, connecting them with folks that have been a part of this, that really built this foundation. Like, how great is that to create like a larger community? And so I think that's really the biggest thing, is calling folks in, really promoting this partnership and collaboration with one another, and really letting folks know, like, I am here to move this forward. You've laid this foundation so I can do that, and tell me how I can do it better, how I can make sure that your work is not just like being ignored or done in vain, like really making sure that it's honored and you're seen in this process. So yeah.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah.
You know, one of the big, I think, kind of criticisms that was out there when we realized, okay, it's going to go through a PB process, you know, folks didn't know what participatory budgeting was. And yes, it's been done at the city in various departments and in different levels. It's been done throughout the state in different levels, but that didn't mean folks understood it. So
Right.
I can only imagine that a part of what you're experiencing is explaining what it is to a lot of folks. Like you said, there's people that are just now getting engaged who had no idea. And even when this became like the solution to what so many were seeking, there was a lot of folks who were like, but wait a minute, does this mean that now the whole city gets to vote on how money should be, you know, invested into Black and brown and indigenous communities? I mean, that was a concern, a major concern for folks, and kind of a criticism was that, you know, this should be led by the voices of those who it's looking to impact, but it's something that's actually citywide and open to anyone to participate. So how do you navigate that if folks are bringing that to your attention in terms of, you know, really being able to center those voices, but, you know, legally it has to be open to everyone?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this process is open to anyone 10 and up. So anyone 10 and up can engage in this process, participate. I think the biggest way that I can encourage folks to really ensure that like our people are a part of this and really leading this process is apply for these positions that are opening up, apply for the funding opportunities, apply for the RFPs. We had applications open for the steering committee, who's going to be creating like the rules and the playbook for this process. Like, apply to that. If you don't want to, tell your sister to apply, tell your cousin, tell your somebody who you know is really committed to making sure that our voices are a part of this. And so for me, I've been tapping into people I know, like, hey, hit up such and such. Let these people know, you know, and really telling folks like the only way that we can ensure this is actually community informed and led is by us really engaging in it. Apply for these opportunities, and they're paid. So I'm also telling people like, get some money while you're doing it, you know? We also have a lot of opportunities where organizations can come in and do outreach. And so it's really making sure, hey, any organizations, groups of people that you know, businesses, let them know that there are opportunities for them to do outreach, for them to maybe host an event or be a part of this process. Let them know. And so really it's about, again, calling folks in and really encouraging them to apply for these opportunities and to engage in these opportunities where they get to actually be a part of the decision making that really informs this process. Because we don't want to just, you know, ignore all of these opportunities, and when it comes to the vote, it's a bunch of proposals that don't speak to us, that really don't address our needs, that aren't specific to Black and Indigenous communities. You know, so I'm really encouraging people like, hey, when it comes to idea collection, get in there and voice your ideas. When it comes to the vote, make sure that you're telling everybody to vote. Like, your kids can vote. How great is that as young as 10 years old, you can be a part of this process and see things come to life that, you know, that you probably wouldn't have been able to be a part of in any other process. So calling folks in and really sharing this information. I'm texting people like crazy, emailing people, calling people anywhere. I see Black people out, I'm just kind of like, hey, do you know about this process? Like, I just kind of want to let you know it's happening. And that's been a huge part of it.
Yeah, well, kudos to you, pounding the pavement like that and being super intentional to ensure that folks are aware of what's going on. Of course, I want to offer it to you any way that I can help. I'm telling you, we know how important and imperative this process is, and as a girl who grew up in Seattle and, went to Garfield High, I want the city to get this right.
Yeah.
Not just because of the outcome, but also because of the fact that this is the biggest participatory budgeting project in the nation. Yeah. And it means that we have a lot of insight and influence that we can embed in this process by doing it right. And, you're right. Our community has just been struck with so many times of getting it wrong. I really want this to go well. And so I'm here to support however I can. Anytime you have, new positions opening or ways for community to be engaged or involved or events y'all are doing, let me know. We'll make sure we share that information so that folks are really engaged in this process.
Absolutely.
Fundisha, if folks are looking to connect with you and connect with Participatory Budgeting Project, look right there. Let them know how they tap in. This camera right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. You can email me at fundisha@participatorybudgeting.org. Fundisha is Fundisha. Go to pbseattle.org, visit the site, and get some information. Feel free to, if you see me out, stop me, ask me about anything relating to the process or who I am, how I'm engaged in community, or how you want to see us show up in community. Any opportunities like this where we can come and share what PB is and how to get folks involved, call us in. We are more than happy to come. I'm trying to think of how else we can engage. Anything, really. I'm open to it. I'm not going to put my phone number, but if I see you in person, I'm happy to share it with you. My team, our names, I think you'll see it on the PB website, but Talitha, Aaron, Abari at participatorybudgeting.org, reach out to them. We have a People's Fellowship program where our youth get to be a part of the important decision making. So reach out to Aaron and Abari. They are really leading that work with the youth and really, encouraging them and supporting them and stepping into their leadership. So reach out to the People's Fellow team if you're interested in engaging more with the youth. Just keep a lookout on our socials, our website for upcoming opportunities. We have currently a storyteller RFP open until the 28th, and that is for individuals, groups, and organizations. Can apply up to $30K to get to really share the story of this PB process, share the stories of individuals participating in the process, so it can really inform how future processes can work. And then we also have a community engagement partners funding opportunity where individuals and groups and organizations can apply for up to $10K to support the process by doing outreach and engagement all the way through the vote. So any questions, any concerns, any ways to get us more engaged with y'all, Fundisha at participatorybudgeting.org.
Oh, amazing opportunities, and they abound. Fundisha, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all this. It was, this is something that so many are like, I know so many who are like, wait a minute, what's up with that PB process?
Yes.
So thank you so much. And anytime, you are more than welcome to be right here on The Day with Trae to share some updates and insight for folks. Absolutely. Ooh, I told y'all it was going to